So we do an activity where the public can come in and kind of design their own piece.
My name is Michael Hudson. I'm a glass blower. I've been blowing glass for about 22 years. I own Fire Studio and Gallery and Hudson Glass with my wife. And I don't want to say it's quite a family project, but a little bit of help from the whole family.
All right, so that's just all clear glass. This is going to be enough to make our bowl.
Started in late 1999. In school was where I first started blowing glass. When I went to college, there was a couple different things I was interested in. Art was one of them. The other one I was kind of turned off to relatively quickly.
So this bowl is going to be aqua on the inside and a cobalt kind of dark blue on the outside.
So I've been interested in art from a young age. I kind of floated around the art department in college and kind of tried a little bit of everything and wandered into the glass studio one day and got stuck.
So once the hot glass is coated with the cold colored glass, that's really all that's going to stick unless we get the color we just rolled in hot again. So we're going to melt that first layer of color in and then roll through the aqua again.
And I tried ceramics. I was in the metals department. I was in photography for quite a while. That was really kind of the direction I was going. And then I got into glass. I literally used to go watch at the door. And you know, it was the only medium that I hadn't experienced in my time in college. I was actually getting ready to graduate at that point and walked into the glass studio, decided to take a class, and it actually kept me in school another 2 years. So I spent a total of almost 7 years in college.
All right, so it's going to be aqua on the inside, cobalt blue on the outside. We're going to put white in between them, which I have over here. It kind of separates them. It brightens up all the colors too. So
I may have some of the very early pieces hidden away somewhere, but you literally start off making what kind of looks like a snowman body, but just clear glass and about this big. It's just 3 little balls. That's kind of the first thing you do. If I have my first piece, it's the first blown piece I ever did. It's a really wonky, clear bowl that barely sits flat. It kind of tilts over, and I think that's pretty common for, you know, the first part of learning is just being able to get through the process from start to finish, and then you build on your skills beyond that.
So we got the aqua that's going to be the inside. We're covering that up now. We won't see the aqua again until the very end of the process, making the bowl.
It's definitely a quick art form. You know, there's jewelers and metalsmiths that might spend months on a piece, where, you know, most things that we make are, you know, anywhere from 10 minutes to a couple hours at the most. You know, so it's an immediate gratification. It's also immediate failure sometimes and frustration. So that works both ways with you know, with it being a relatively quick form.
So the colors by themselves are completely transparent, except for the white. The white's opaque. So by sandwiching the white in between the layers, the 2 different colors we're going to use, the white's a background behind both transparent colors. It just makes everything a lot brighter, and it separates the 2 from kind of blending together. You're going to see aqua on one side and the dark blue on the other side, rather than kind of a mix of them if it didn't have the white on there.
So I was close to graduating. I got interested in glass. I already had a general studio art degree, they called it, and then I had an art history minor. I didn't go after any of those things. They just kind of happened as I was taking classes. But since I was about ready to graduate, it opened up a lot of things for me. I was not taking any other classes. I decided I was going to take glass class and got a job delivering pizzas. So that opened up a lot of time. I could be around the studio a lot more than other students. So I got in good with the instructor. He was only a couple years older than me. You know, because I was spending so much time around there, he offered me the opportunity to first start helping with the beginning class. There was always kind of a senior student that would help him teach the beginning classes. So I started doing that with him, and then he offered me the opportunity to start helping him make his own personal work. So we got to know each other pretty well, got in good with him. I graduated and moved back here after that 7 years, which was home. And about 6 months after I moved back here, University of Louisville decided to start a glass program. And who did they hire but the professor who I had just finished up working under? They hired him away from Southern Illinois, where I went to head U of L's glass program. So he actually hired me. He didn't want to leave Southern Illinois in the middle of the semester, so he hired me. I actually taught the first U of L classes. I was about 6 months out of college at this point, and I was teaching a university level class. Kind of strange, but he knew he was coming here, and he knew that I would give them a start that came from him. You know, I would start them the same way that he started me. So I think that was a big thing. He loved that I was here and that somebody could start, you know, shaping what they would learn from him when he did get here.
All right, so up to this point, we've just been adding our color. We got our clear glass, we've added our color glass to it. Now we're gonna put a pattern into it and then start blowing. So we're gonna make some stripes or some ridges that are gonna be on the outside of the bowl. They come from what we call an optic mold, the little cup here on the floor. So we're gonna shape it to go into that.
That was a part-time job through U of L. At the time, I was also working for another studio here in town. I ended up with 3 part-time jobs. I was working for University of Louisville's glass program, and then I was working for 2 private studios here in town. So that was kind of my start, where I was working for other people. During that time period, I also started to develop my own line of work that I started selling to other galleries and gift shops. So there was about 10 years where I was working for other people, and then also had my kind of own business on the side that I was making my own stuff. So that grew into this. You know, I made a lot of money for a lot of people, and I wasn't making hardly anything. So that's what really pushed me. There was some used equipment that came on the market. I bought that. I stored it in a storage unit for, 3 or 4 years, just kind of as I developed a plan to do my own thing.
All right, so we're gonna go into there, put the lines on it, stripes, then we're gonna start a bubble inside the glass. Right now it's just solid glass on the end of a hollow pipe. The way I'm gonna do that is put a hard puff of air into the end of the pipe. As I blow into it, I'm gonna cap my thumb over the end to trap that air pressure inside the pipe, and it'll push a little bubble out.
Like I told you, I worked for several people during that time frame. One of them that I had actually quit working for a few years before, her and I came in contact at an art show, and I just started talking to her about what I wanted to do and what she thought kind of the industry at the time. And she was ready to be done. She had been in the business almost 30 years, and one thing led to another. She kind of talked me into taking over her studio rather than starting fresh. Some days I think that was a good thing, and some days I think that was a bad thing. There was some built-in business. There were some employees that I knew and I had worked with who were out in the studio today. And it did give a bit of a head start as far as getting into a lot of galleries and gift shops that had already been selling that work.
So I've capped my thumb over the end. It takes a few seconds, but if you watch down there, you'll see something happen.
So yes, we took over the studio that she had been running for almost 25 years. We changed the name to Fire Studio and Gallery at that point, after we took over, which would have been 2012, around then, 13.
So oftentimes a 2-person job to make something like this. I've got this little hose, and I've come up with a couple other tricks to be able to do this by myself.
No, we're still trying. I mean, we're still building this. You know, it's the first little while was quite a struggle, and things seem to be changing pretty quickly right now. When we took over the studio, it was in a horrible location that barely got any foot traffic at all. So we've moved to a much better location. We're starting to get more foot traffic. The sales through galleries have been really up lately. So no, I would not consider us successful, but I think we're on a good path to get there. So I don't know if I'll ever consider it a success. You know, there's always more to do, more that needs to be done.
All right, not looking very bowl-like right now, but that's how a bowl is made. It starts off as a round ball.
And there's a lot of camaraderie that goes on in the glass studio. you're having to work very closely with a group of people when you're making glass, for the most part. As you saw the other day, there are things that I can do by myself, but in general, it's a team sport, as I like to say. And the way the piece turns out in the end relies on all those people. No matter if you're the one, it can be my piece, but there might be 4 of us that are working on it. It's still my piece, but everybody's got to be doing their job.
This is going to be the bottom, and that's going to be the top. So the next step is what we call the foot, a little clear disc that the bowl is going to sit on. As I said, it's normally a 2-person job. I would normally have an assistant go get that foot, but I'm going to put it up in this little stand. I can't put it up there when it's too hot, otherwise it'll move and I'll never get the foot on the middle of the bottom. I'm going to drop it right on the bottom of this bowl.
We struggled a lot with this business early on, and I guess right now, the thing I'd probably be most proud of is just the fact that we're still paying all the bills and everybody's getting paid. There were times where we didn't know if we were going to continue on in the same way that we are right now. But I'm proud of this group still being together. We made the move over here, and now we're starting to see the payoff from doing that.
We sell through about 300 galleries and gift shops across the country. We just got back from a big show that we do every year in Philadelphia. It's basically a wholesale show. We take a big booth. We don't sell anything. We take orders from gallery owners, gift shop buyers, museum stores, a few catalogs, things like that. So it keeps us busy for a big chunk of the year. These last 12, 16 months have been very strange. A lot of businesses have struggled. Our customers, galleries, gift shops, boutiques have done extremely well, which means we are extremely busy. We got back from the Philadelphia show about a month and a half ago. I'm not even to those orders yet. I'm still working on orders that came in before we left.
Before COVID, we would do usually a show in Atlanta, 1 or 2 shows in New York, and then Philadelphia. Philadelphia has always been our #1 show. You go up there, you take a huge booth, we take a ton of glass. We don't sell anything, we take orders. So it is a trade show. It's basically a wholesale trade show. To get into the show, if you're not an artist, you have to be a buyer from a gift shop, a gallery, a museum store. So that's where the majority of them are found. We've got a couple online platforms that we're on for retailers to come in and buy things. But the majority of it does come from in-person shows still.
Whenever you make any kind of vase or bowl, any kind of vessel in glass, we always work on the bottom half on the blowpipe. We're done with the bottom half. Now we need to be able to work on the top half. So the way we do that is I'm going to go get another rod, a solid rod with just a little bit of glass on the tip of it. I'm going to bring it over and attach it to the bottom of the bowl and break it off the blowpipe. So we'll be attached from this side now instead of this side, and we'll be able to work on, heat up the top and manipulate that into the shape we want. So another part that's usually a 2-person job. If I was working on something bigger, more elaborate, I would have an assistant. They would go and get that other rod. I would just babysit this, keep it at the right temperature. I'm going to hang it here and go get that other rod myself.
We're still trying to build the business and get everybody paid, including myself. Everybody else is paid pretty well, but the owner is always the last one to get a good paycheck. Because of what I just explained about working with other galleries and gift shops, we take a big booth of things to these shows. Everything in that booth you have to be comfortable making over and over again. You get pigeonholed doing the same things over and over again. So I don't think there's one specific thing that I would call my favorite piece to make right now. It is things that I don't normally make, though. It's the things outside of what we refer to as the production line. So it's custom orders. Maybe it's a vase, maybe it's awards for a corporation or a company, but it's the things that get me outside of the box that I'm usually in that I really enjoy right now. And there's not enough of that right now. So that's one reason to move into a better retail location like we have here. It's a chance to do more custom work, more what I think of as kind of creative work. The stuff that we're selling through galleries, it is very creative, but it was ideas and thoughts that I might have had several years ago, developed those pieces, and then moved on, even though we keep making those pieces. They sell well. But it's the new stuff that's exciting. So we've got a really wide range. Most of what you see here in the gallery is part of our production line. There are some pieces here that aren't sold in that way. But you know, it's a very wide line relative to a lot of other glass studios like us. We have everything from a wide variety of aquatic pieces, several different kinds of fish, turtles, starfish, seahorse. Those are some of our best sellers. Our candlestick holders are some of our best sellers. It's a great wedding gift, I think, that a lot of galleries are attracted to. Yeah, there's vases, there's pen holders, it goes on and on. So right now we've got about 60 pieces, I think, that are part of our production line. You know, some galleries make a lot more personal work that they might just be selling to individuals. It becomes even a wider range. But like I said, we're trying to get outside of our box right now.
The furnace is kind of the heartbeat of any glass blowing studio. Everything kind of relies on the furnace. This is where we melt our clear glass. So we're basically taking silica sand that has a few other ingredients in it and throwing it in there. You have to turn it up even hotter, close to 2,400 degrees, and cook it for 6 to 8 hours to make good glass. But what's inside of there is a big bowl, basically. This one holds about 400 pounds. This is our brand new state-of-the-art furnace. This is our old furnace. It's about 17 years old. This is obviously turned off and not hot, but you can get an idea of what is in there by looking in this one. There's a big bowl in there that holds molten glass. The molten glass is corrosive at temperature, so that's why that bowl looks like that in there. You can see it's corroded away. There's pits. Same thing over here, just at 2,120 degrees. So it's hard to see, but if you look towards the back, you'll see kind of a curved line. That's the back rim of that bowl. There's a very faint line down about, 8 inches below it. It's very hard to see unless you really let your eyes adjust, but that's the actual glass level inside of there.
You know, I think I want people to see that I have a good sense of design and that I've got a good understanding of the material. You know, there's a lot of people that have been doing this for a long time that still struggle to make what I consider simple things. It's not about just doing something over and over again. It's about actually understanding the way the material works. And that takes a long time, and I'm still working at that, but I feel like I've got a good grasp. Nothing's gonna change too drastically now. But you know, I want them to understand that we have the ability to do almost anything, and that we pride ourselves on craftsmanship that doesn't exist readily today.
All right, so just a little bit of glass, something for the bowl to stick to, basically, or the rod to stick to the bottom of the bowl with. So the timing and the heat's really important. Too cold, it's gonna crack. Too hot, it's gonna end up on the floor. So right now it's too cold, it would crack. So I'm gonna heat both of these up, hopefully get them just to the right temperature.
You know, we love people to come in and watch what we do. And I think that gives people an appreciation for what we do. I think having the studio attached to the gallery is a huge selling point. So, you know, I like educating people about our process, which I think in turn creates sales. So by letting people watch what we do, I think it's a good benefit for everybody involved.
I'm gonna let it sag down. We're definitely not too cold. Flip it over, and that gives me a couple seconds to get over here. Attach that to the middle of the bottom. And when the heat's just right, it just takes a little tap. And now you can see there's a small opening where it was attached to the pipe. We're going to heat up that opening and make it bigger and bigger, and we'll have a bowl.
So unfortunately, we're not selling online, and we've got a few other retailers in the state, but not in the city. And those two things are very closely related. We sell through over 300 galleries and gift shops right now. As soon as I put up a retail website selling our work, I'm in competition with those 300 retailers that we already have. So it makes it hard to do that. For one, a lot of these places have, our best customers are in very high rent areas. Their galleries are high rent areas.
So notice I'm not heating the whole thing. I don't really want the bottom to change shape. But if it gets too cold where it's connected to this rod, it'll pop right off of there. So mostly just heating the top half. And every few seconds I go in and get some heat on the back. All right, now I'm going to sit down at the bench, stick the blades of this tool inside of the opening, and apply a little pressure downwards. And start opening that hole up.
So, we still run into this, but, years ago when I first started this, galleries were very into advertising who the artists were, where they are, pictures of the studio, pictures of the artist. And now they've had to stop doing that because people will literally walk into a gallery, pull out their phone and call me, or start looking me up and seeing, hey, I bet I can get a better deal on this. Yes, you could, but we try not to do that. It's just not worth me jeopardizing a relationship with a gallery. So if you're local, we'd love for you to come in here. If you're not local, what we do when we get phone calls from across the country asking about pieces is first we'll look at what galleries we have in their area and what those galleries are carrying. If they're carrying what they're interested in, we'll send them that way. If I know there's nobody in that area that has what they're interested in, then I'm more than happy to sell them to you. But our galleries are always going to be our bread and butter, I think. So we try to protect that relationship. They try to protect that relationship. And it is a relationship. They're making money off of us, we're making money off of them. Some people wouldn't believe, what I'm getting for some of these pieces and what a gallery's charging. We've got places that will mark our work up to 4 times. If I'm selling them something for $100, they're marking it up to $400, which that seems ridiculous to a lot, but it's all about overhead. Like I said, our best customers are in very high rent, usually touristy areas. That are selling the most of our work.
All right, I'm going to do that one more time and open it up so it has kind of straight sides. And I'm not going to touch it again. We're going to make the final shape using heat, gravity, and centrifugal force. All right, so there's a very plain little bowl shape. I'm going to start heating it. As the lip gets hotter and hotter, it's getting softer and softer, and it's spinning. So centrifugal force is going to make it flare open into a plate, basically.
I don't get to make as much art as I want. I spend way too much time at the computer answering phone calls and sending emails. I guess that's more the answer to how is owning a business, an artistic business, different than just being an artist. Before I owned the business, I actually blew glass a lot more than I do now. Because I was working for somebody else and that was my job, to blow glass. And now my job entails blowing glass and running the studio and keeping employees busy and shipping, and there's a long list of things that I do now.
So the lip is starting to flare open now. So we've got a plate. And now we've got a bowl again.
It's a lot more stressful than I would have imagined. And I think I'm still talking about maybe owning the business rather than being an artist. Yes, it's definitely changed me in a lot of ways, the stress aspect of it. So yes, that would be the main thing I would say, is it's making a living doing this is much more stressful than a lot of people have in their minds, these kind of artist types that just kind of float around and do whatever they want, whenever they want, and call it art. That's not what we do. You know, we're very regimented, you know, and we don't have the profit margins that a lot of other businesses have. You know, people look around in here and see prices, and they're just, you know, they think we're just arbitrarily throwing numbers on pieces of glass, and it's not like that at all. Each thing takes a specific time to make. Each thing has a certain amount of material in it, and material cost, which is just rising right now. So yes, stress would be your answer.
So a little drop of water where the rod is connected to the bottom. Tap comes right off of there. Leaves a little sharp spot. We're going to melt that sharp spot in. And then quickly we've got to put it into this silver box, which is an oven.
Perseverance, I think, and just continue on. You know, I think depending on your situation, I was lucky enough to be able to stay in school an extra couple years. I think you have to be in the right situation to make a run at making a living like this. You know, I don't have kids. Being an artist is probably why. I think you have to be prepared to just go with the flow. And sometimes that's a lot easier said than done.
So there's that aqua. It still looks a little green because it's hot. Quickly into the oven.
There's a general perception that artists do whatever they want, whenever they want. And this is way more similar to any other business than you might think it is. I get to do something that I find very fun and challenging as part of my business. But it's not as different than any other business as most people would think.